Pete Davidson is officially back on Saturday Night Live, and this time, he's not just there to crack jokes. He's there to roast himself and his most questionable investment ever, the infamous Staten Island Ferry. After teasing fans about a possible return to SNL, Davidson showed up once again at the Weekend Update desk, sitting beside his longtime friend and co-owner of the Ferry, Colin Jost. The reunion had fans thrilled, especially since Pete hasn't been part of the cast since 2022. But instead of promoting a new project, he was there to poke fun at his and Jost's very public business blunder. Their money, losing Staten Island Ferry that they bought with big dreams, and now, apparently, even bigger debts. Pete, who joined SNL back in 2014 and became one of its youngest ever cast members, was totally in his comedic element as he casually joked about how their dream to turn the Ferry into a luxury entertainment venue has turned into, as he called it, a money-losing fiasco. The audience burst into laughter as Pete deadpanned, "So yeah, in case you're wondering why I had to do a show in Saudi Arabia, we're losing millions on this ferry." The joke referred to his recent appearance at the Riyadh Comedy Festival, but Pete didn't miss a beat when it came to making fun of himself and his situation. He even added, "I assume that's what the article says. I can't spend $5 on a paywall when I got a kid on the way, making everyone laugh even harder." For fans who have followed Pete's journey, from his early SNL days to his various comedy specials and movie projects, this return felt like classic Davidson. Brutally honest, self-deprecating, and completely unpredictable. It's no secret that Pete and Colin Jost bought the decommissioned Staten Island Ferry back in 2022 with big plans to turn it into an entertainment venue. They imagined a place where people could eat, drink, and enjoy comedy shows while floating on New York's iconic waters. But like many ambitious celebrity ventures, things didn't quite go as planned. Costs skyrocketed, progress stalled, and what was once a cool dream has now become a financial headache. Still, Pete isn't one to shy away from making fun of himself, and that's what makes him such a beloved figure in comedy. During the segment, he said, "I'm just excited to be a dad and give it all the energy and enthusiasm I never had for this show," which instantly reminded viewers why he was such a standout during his SNL run. Colin Jost, known for his witty and calm sense of humor, couldn't resist joining in. He quipped back, "I will tell you on the other side, I prefer having a kid to the Ferry." It was the perfect comeback that summed up their situation. Two successful comedians, great friends, and apparently terrible business partners when it comes to boats. Pete continued the roast by joking about how they even renamed the boat. "We thought the Staten Island Ferry sounded too depressing, so now it's called the Titanic too," he said, and the entire studio erupted with laughter. The self-aware humor was pure gold, especially since the Titanic reference couldn't have been more fitting. Both ships were disasters, just in very different ways. Despite all the jokes, Colin tried to lighten the situation by saying their project was going very well, mentioning how they recently got a Nike sponsorship for the NYC Marathon. Whether that's true, or just another layer of their comedic bit, no one could really tell. But it fit perfectly with the duo's playful back and forth energy. Pete took that opportunity to deliver another jab, saying, "If Lorne Michaels has taught us anything, it's that you never, ever give up. Even if everyone says the time has come and Tina Fey is ready to take over." The audience roared with laughter, a clear nod to all the rumors over the years about SNL's leadership and future. But Pete wasn't done yet. He decided to take the joke further and brought politics into the mix with one of his wildest pitches yet for saving the ferry. Referring to the recent election victory of Zohran Mamdani, Pete said he had a great idea to make this ferry more of a success. He then launched into a hilarious fake promotional pitch for Staten Islanders unhappy with the election results. "Hey, Staten Islanders, did you promise to move out of New York if Mamdani won but have too many warrants for New Jersey and not enough guns for Florida? Well, welcome to New Staten Island." The crowd was in stitches as he added that the new ferry would have everything that makes Staten Island great, the pizza, before abruptly stopping and adding, "We can't call it the Titanic anymore since the people on this ship will actually love running into ICE." The joke was edgy, politically charged, and absolutely vintage Pete Davidson. As the laughter settled, Pete wrapped up the bit with one final thought: "My point is the ferry, it's fine." Sometimes the news just makes things worse than they are, like how everyone was sure certain people would be exposed and ruined for being on the Epstein list. But look, it's 2025, and all three of us are still up here. It was the perfect way to close the segment, a mix of dark humor and sharp commentary that only Pete could pull off. Colin Jost, of course, tried to play it straight, but you could see he was barely holding back laughter too. This wasn't Pete's first time making fun of the Staten Island ferry. Earlier this year, Jost appeared in a rare sketch where he tried to sell the ferry in a desperate attempt to offload their sinking investment. Not long after that, the New York Times reported that the ferry was indeed causing financial troubles for both comedians, confirming what fans already suspected. Still, seeing the two of them take such bad news and turn it into brilliant comedy is part of what makes SNL so iconic, and what makes Pete Davidson and Colin Jost such a hilarious duo. For longtime SNL fans, this moment felt nostalgic. Pete's chemistry with the Weekend Update team has always been one of the highlights of his time on the show. He may have left the cast years ago, but his humor and presence remain deeply tied to SNL's legacy. His ability to laugh at himself, his mistakes, and even his personal life, from relationships to controversies, is what sets him apart. Every time Pete returns, it feels like he never left. The Staten Island ferry story itself has become something of a running joke in pop culture. When Pete and Colin bought the ferry for $280,100 at an auction, they announced big plans to renovate it into a floating comedy club and entertainment space. Fans were excited at first. After all, it sounded like something only Pete Davidson would do. But the logistics of transforming an old, decommissioned Ferry into a luxury venue were much harder than they imagined. Between high maintenance costs, slow progress, and the sheer scale of the project, things quickly turned sour. News outlets began reporting that the ferry was rusting away in a dock, costing thousands each month just to maintain. But instead of hiding from the embarrassment, Pete and Colin have turned the whole situation into comedy gold. Pete's recent SNL appearance was the ultimate proof that he's still one of the funniest and most fearless voices in comedy. He doesn't mind being the butt of the joke. In fact, he thrives on it. By roasting his own failed business venture on live television, he not only made people laugh, but also reminded everyone why SNL needs comedians like him, the ones who keep it real. Fans flooded social media after the episode aired, praising Pete for his humor and honesty. Many said it was one of the best Weekend Update segments in a long time, while others joked that the ferry has officially become SNL's longest-running joke. Whether or not Pete and Colin ever manage to turn the ferry into something profitable, one thing's for sure: they've already turned it into comedy history. What also made the bit even more special was how comfortable Pete looked back at the SNL desk. There was no awkwardness or distance between him and Colin. It was just two friends cracking jokes and laughing about their shared misfortune. Their chemistry was effortless, the timing was perfect, and it was clear that despite everything, they're both still having fun with it. Pete's return also came just as he's entering a new phase of life. With a baby on the way, he joked about wanting to put more energy into fatherhood than he ever did into SNL. It was a funny line, but it also showed how much Pete has grown. He's no longer just the young comedian trying to find his place. He's a seasoned performer who knows exactly who he is and how to make the world laugh, even at his own expense. For SNL viewers, this episode was a reminder of why Pete Davidson will always have a place in the show's history. He's unpredictable, brutally honest, and never afraid to turn his real-life chaos into comedy. From roasting his own bad decisions to poking fun at politics and media, Pete knows how to find humor in even the most absurd situations. His Staten Island ferry may be a financial disaster, but for comedy fans, it's a gift that keeps on giving. And as for whether Pete might return to SNL more regularly, he's hinted before that he'd consider coming back if creator Lorne Michaels ever asked him to. As he once said, "I owe that guy my life." Judging from how natural he looked behind the Weekend Update desk, fans would probably love to see that happen. Until then, the Staten Island ferry saga continues to float, barely, somewhere between a real-life business problem and a never-ending SNL punchline. But as long as Pete Davidson keeps turning his failures into unforgettable comedy, nobody's complaining.